The story concerns Stephen Garvey, who was he was organising his annual operetta, which was a big thing. This would be the early 1950s. Stephen Garvey's operas were big. He was a perfectionist himself. Everything he did. He was a band leader. He was a composer. He was an organist. He was a lyricist. He was a showman through and through. So he was, as I said, the annual operetta was big. And the one he was producing was called The Belle of New York, the one that he planned to hold. Now, I'll go then back to the Mayo County Council at the time was housed in the courthouse. And it wasn't, the offices were in the courthouse. It wasn't as big a county council as it is now, maybe 40 or 50 people or thereabouts. And within that, there was a small cabal of 3 or 4 wizened old guys whose main entertainment was playing practical jokes on the citizens of the town or anyone else they could play it on. And they were noted for their ingenuity. Now, these weren't just taking the wheel off your bike and there was a lot of thought went into these practical jokes. And especially if the target was a prominent member of the community, all the better. They'd love it. So now we leave that aside for the moment. I'll go back to what Stephen was at. So here was Stephen getting ready for his opera. He had a surplus of talent because there was loads and loads of talent in Castlebar. There was male voice choir, there was female singers, there was musicians of every kind because I was even from his own orchestra. So there was a terrific selection of talent to put on the musical. The only problem is that there were 2 ladies who were equally talented, both from equally prominent families, both expecting to be the lead lady, the lead singer in The Belle of New York, and between which there was a certain rivalry. So a lot of talk was, what would Stephen do? Who would get the cards? So Stephen, in his wisdom, decided the best thing he could do was rotate the roles. So Miss A would sing on the lead role on the Monday night, and Miss B would sing in the choir, in the chorus, and then the following night Miss B would take the lead role, and so on. And this would go on over 6 nights, even 6 nights of the concert, and that was it. Now he put the proposal to the 2 ladies. They weren't too happy about it, now either of them, because both of them felt that, I'm better than her, but they had no choice but to accept it. Did I have this right? Neither were entirely right, yeah. Okay, so it has been talked about around the town, and it was a small town, and the word got round. And word eventually got to the boys in the courthouse, the jokers. And they reckoned they could see potential for mischief if they did things right. So they went to the trouble of finding out who was singing on, which lady was singing on which night. And a couple of days before the opera was due to start, Mr. A got a phone call at his place of business at Castlebar, and the caller identified himself in a deep voice as Most Reverend Dr. Welch, the Archbishop of Tuam. And naturally there was great reverence, and there was, thank you, Your Grace, and what can I do, and so on, and what the message. So His Grace went on to say that he had heard that Miss A was a wonderful singer, and he congratulated Mr. A on having such a talented daughter, and that he would be coming to the opera himself on the Friday night, and looked forward to hearing Miss A sing. So, and asked Mr. A as well to advise Stephen Garvey that this was going to happen. And not only was he content with that, but the joker that he was, before the conversation ended, he offered to impart a blessing, a special blessing, over the phone to Mr. A and his staff, if they'd gather round. Well, geez, you can imagine the And Mr. A got very excited. He called the staff and down on their knees they went, and Latin-sounding incantation came out of the soul, and they blessed themselves and went away happy. That was the end of that phone. So of course, what the Joker knew was that it was Miss B's night to sing, and Mr. Ray knew that as well, but he wasn't going to look a gift horse in the mouth. He wasn't going to say, you know, and he figured that Stephen would change things round. So straight away he goes down to Stephen. Stephen wasn't at home, he was away with his band somewhere down the south. And he went from there to the home of Miss B to tell them that there was going to be a change. The bishop was coming. He wanted to hear his daughter singing, and they better get ready because there would be a change. And they didn't take too kindly to this. And they weren't having it, so they told him to be off about his business. And that if the bishop came on Friday, he'd be listening to Miss B, and that was it. So this went on a couple of days, and finally Stephen came back, and Mr. A went to Stephen and told him the story. Stephen, being the wise man that he was, twigged that this was something wrong about this. So he goes down to the presbytery, and the presbytery rings the palace in tune, and the bishop's secretary confirms that there was never such a phone call made ever, and that the bishop would be coming, as he always did, on the final Sunday night, not on the Friday, be coming on the final Sunday night. This was arranged, which again would be Miss A's night. So it finished at that. That was the end of it. Not much was heard afterwards about it. But some weeks later, maybe some months later, the word must have gone up the line to the department of this carry-on county council. And a circular was issued from the department, among many other circulars, but this circular was issued to all local authorities. It was addressed to the county manager and some directive of other. And at the bottom then there would CC, County Secretary, CC, County Medical Officer, copy to County Accountant, and so on. But whoever was sending it out in Dublin must have had Castlebar connections, because he had a small CC at the bottom. CC, His Grace, the Archbishop. So that was the tale. That was the tale. I didn't get into the door.